clinching. Clinching is when you're grabbing your opponent around his neck and he's also grabbing you. The purpose of clinching is to try to move your opponent into the right position and place a knee technique. The more you pull your opponent off balance or onto his wrong leg, the easier it is to set up a knee technique. Clinching is often used in slowing your opponent down or interrupting his rhythm. It's not only about power, but also about the combination of timing and power and other skills. It also involves very heavy conditioning. It's therefore very important that you use the power of your opponent as well. You can also use the knee techniques without the clinching as an attack or as a counter.
Grabbing the opponent during clinching is of utmost importance before starting any knee techniques. In order to do this correctly, we are tugging our partner around his neck and your partner takes you by holding his arms around you. Like a game, your partner tries to move his hands inwards. With your hands in an inward position, you have an advantage. In this position, you can move your opponent more easily and bring him off balance. This is done by giving short, powerful jerks on your partner's neck. Watch the short, powerful jerks. It's like a game, coming inwards in an inward position with your hands. Make sure that during clinching you stand up as straight as possible, so don't let yourself be pulled down. By practicing this, you will enforce your back and neck muscles. Again, start slowly. Also, the footwork is important in order to remain always in balance. In order to avoid off balance, make only short steps and stand as close as possible to your opponent, so you will give him no space for a knee technique. Watch how the short jerks bring your opponent off balance. Watch my position. I stand up straight, move inwards with both arms and then grab his neck. Clinching takes a lot of energy from you. As in regular boxing they rest, here we're just starting. Now we are showing some different knee techniques from a clinching position. For example, the so-called left and right round knee. Furthermore, we see a left and right forward knee and a combination of both. Now we can see a right round knee followed up by a front knee. As all techniques are used from a clinching position, we have to create space first. Grab your partner with your hands in an inward position around his neck and step with your left leg over his right foot. Swing your right knee upwards and turn backwards with a knee. You have to hold your opponent firmly. You hit your opponent's ribs with the sideward knee. You can see I'm creating space for while following up with the knee. Watch carefully how close I am with my partner. Then step backwards, pull his neck and come in with the front knee. Watch how I stretch my back. With this right forward knee, you are again in contact with your partner and you push again your elbows to the chest of your opponent. Move your right leg backwards and stretch your arms. Move your left leg and give a forward knee. With a double knee, placed in a round movement and forward, then again step over your foot beside your opponent. Place a right round knee. Join and make a step with your right leg and finish with a right forward knee. With a left double knee, we do the same. Again, step over your foot beside your opponent. Make a left side knee, join, step backward, stretch your arms, and come back with a knee. And clinch your opponent again. Make sure that always your opponent is grabbed around his neck from the inside and that enough space is ensured for every knee attack. Don't jump, keep contact with the ground, at least with 1 foot. Watch how I bow my back when I give the forward knee. Make enough space for every knee movement. Again, step forwards, and this holds especially for a forward knee. Be sure that you throw your body behind your knee attack, so don't keep your back backwards. Watch how I am creating the space to place my knee. Make sure that your chin is locked between your shoulders and that you can't be hit by any counter punches, and stick to your opponent after each knee technique. Watch how I close to my opponent. I clinch my opponent after giving each technique. With a double circular knee forwards with your left leg, your foot will not touch the ground after the knee, but it moves without hesitation backwards. You're stretching your arms, keep your back round and hit backwards in an explosive way. During this fight, I make 2 times a double round knee to the body. Although I don't hold my opponent but the ropes, I still make space by stepping backwards and placing a round knee. I hold my opponent tightly. I make space and place a knee around his defense. Again, we see a situation where I hold my opponent tightly. But now I make space and I place a knee to the head. This technique is only possible if you are creating enough space. Here we see how the opponent moves, and this movement is followed by a forward knee. This is a complicated movement, a combination of stepping, pushing and pulling, and therefore we will treat this technique step by step. Grab your opponent from the inside and keep close contact. Step with your right leg around the left leg of your opponent and follow this movement with your left leg. At the same time you pull with your left arm and push your opponent with your right arm and elbow beside you. Do this till your arms are stretched and then make a forward knee and afterwards have again close contact. So you pull and push and follow up with the right forward knee. After experimenting a few times, you will notice that this movement is really very complex. Many things have to be done at the same time, and therefore we will show a few parts in close-up. Be sure that you are in close contact with your opponent with your hands inside. Step with your right leg around his left leg, following by your left leg. Again, pull with your left arm and push with your right one, your opponent beside you. You have to do this in one single movement. With a strong short jerk, you have to move your opponent in such a way that you create the ideal position to place your right knee in his solar plexus. During this movement, you can see very clearly how the movement is during the fight. Especially, you see the upper part of the body. Notice how I create enough room with my arms with the pull and push movement. Here you see a close-up of the footwork. Notice the steps that are being made and how the opponent moves. You have your left leg forward, and you make a step with your right foot around the left leg of your opponent. Join your left leg and turn at the same time your whole body around. Examine this carefully a few times. The movement of the feet is one of the important points of this technique. Here you can examine how the arms are used to push and pull. Watch the left arm. It pulls while the right arm pushes. In this way you move the upper body of the opponent. You can see that by this technique I can move my opponent wherever I like to. As well to the left as to the right side. Here we see the opposite of the previous technique. Now we step to the other side. Now I step with my left leg around his right leg. I pull and push and notice how my right leg in a single movement follows. I stretch with my arms and follow with the left knee. Be sure that the total movement resembles a single movement. In this way the opponent has enough time to return into a stable position. Be sure that you move your opponent beside you and not only step around him, otherwise you're off balance. Use your arms in a proper way. Stretch your arms before moving your knee to create an optimal space. Again, after the technique you clinch your opponent, you're as close as possible. The technique is being used by an attacking opponent who runs at you. Now notice how the opponent is turned and moved. Your opponent contacts you. Take him with your arms and step with your right leg around him. Move your opponent into the ropes, following with the right knee. So step with your right leg around him, move your opponent in the ropes and follow with the right knee. You are using the weight and speed of your opponent. How faster he comes at you, as the more quickly he becomes beside you. Take care that you step correctly around your opponent in order to move him, because if you keep staying on one place, he will contact you, and you are only able to clinch him. Use your knee at the moment he comes from the ropes. In this way it will resemble a crash. Again, your opponent runs at you. Now you are moving left and right and finally giving a knee. Start this exercise slowly and increase the speed if you are controlling this technique. Again, the step movements are very important. Watch the step movements. It is important to practice this exercise on both sides. The reason is that your opponent always has a weak side, where he is off balance. It is important to catch your opponent and afterwards to move him. So catch him, step around him and moving in one single movement. Catch him with a knee if he comes off the ropes. Here we see how you can create an opening from a clinching position if your opponent holds you from the inside around your neck. You are in a clinching position and your opponents hold you from an inside position around your neck. Move your right hand under his left elbow and push this elbow sideways and upwards. Now you are creating an opening for a round knee. So move your hand under his left elbow and push this elbow sideways and upwards. Now you are creating an opening to place your knee. We practice this both sides. This technique applies for both sides, therefore train this technique also for both sides. On the left hand side, you move your left hand under his right elbow in order to lift it upwards and to place a knee. In order to move under his elbow, you have to bend a little bit while keeping your other arm around his neck. So bend and then push his arm upwards to follow up with your knee. Now I will show you how we can block different kinds of knee attacks. Your opponent places a left straight forward knee. This attack is blocked by placing your elbow in his thigh. The right knee can be blocked with your left elbow in his thigh. A round right knee is blocked by pulling upwards your right knee before the knee of your opponent hits the target. The round right knee is blocked in the same way with the left knee. It can be blocked with a left knee and a right knee. If you block this with the right knee, it's called a cross blocking. Notice that while blocking the straight front knee attack, you have to bend a little bit and you have to hit him with the point of your elbow. This really hurts. Just when your opponent attacks you with a round knee, you lift your knee upwards. Notice that this happens just in time to retain balance. Notice that this can be done with both legs. Here we can see the interruption of a knee attack. I pull up my knee to block a knee attack. The more power my opponent will use in his attack, the more he will get hurt. This is a kind of defense on the moment that your opponent strikes with a round knee attack. You will turn him off balance. You are in a clinching position and your opponent wants to strike with a right round knee. At the same movement, he is lifting up his leg. You will step around his standing leg and you have to make a push-pull movement in order to pull him beside you. When your opponent is striking with the other knee, you will strike him with the other side, and you will pull him at the same side where he is giving a knee, so pull him off balance in order to counter. Your opponent attacks with a left straight forward punch. You block it with your right hand and you counter at the same time with a right low kick followed by a left knee. Make sure that your low kick counter is done very quickly, so your opponent has no time to step backwards. After you grab him with both hands on the right side of his neck, stretch out and make a left knee. If your opponent stands with his right leg forward and attacks you with right jabs, you have to block with your left arm. Make a step in between in order to place a low kick. After this, place both hands around his neck and place a right knee. This technique is used mostly by the Thais, grabbing the kick leg and push you in the ropes, and attack with knee techniques. Your opponent attacks with a body kick, left or right. You grab the leg on the moment it makes contact with the other hand. You push your opponent back to the ropes, and at the moment he bounces back, you attack with the knee. The only hard part from these techniques is you have to absorb the kick on your body. can use the knee also as an attack after placing straight punches. Make a left long jab to the face and follow with a right knee. Make a good step forwards after the jab to make a good knee. Make sure you make the right knee long, so stretch your lower back forwards in the knee. Don't keep your back behind and only raise your knee. For a left knee, you make first a left and right punch to the face. Then you make a step in between to make the left knee. The step in between gives you a lot of explosion and power in your knee. Be sure you protect your face while you make the knee for a counter punch. Here you can see how I block the punch and grab with the other hand my opponent's neck and place the knee technique. These are more counters than attacks. Your opponent attacks with a left or right punch, and we counter with a knee. The left jab comes, I block with the right hand, take a step in between and make a left knee. Keep your face protected while you make a knee. Be sure that you block the punch correctly, otherwise you cannot counter the proper way. With the right punch, you block it with your left arm, and while your opponent is leaning in the right punch, you make your knee. Another counter-attack with the knee on left-right punches and left-right hook punches, counters with left and right knees. The opponent attacks with a left and right punch. I'll block and counter with a right knee. Again, block the punches correctly, and while he is leaning into the right punch, you counter with the right knee. Protect your face. Here we have an attack with a left-right straightforward punch plus a left hook. We block the left hook on the gloves, and at the same time we make the step in between and grab with your left arm around the opponent's neck and make a left knee. Be sure you do these three things at one moment. Block left hook, step in between and grab the opponent. Then you give your opponent no time to step back before your counter. Besides the left hook, we also have a right hook, and there's not much different for your opponent in movement in between a left-right straight punch or a left straight punch and a right hook, so be aware. So your partner makes it difficult for you to make them both left-right straight punches, left straight punch forward and a right hook. So look good to this movement. If he comes with a right hook, you step a little in the punch and block it on the gloves and step in for the right knee. The left-right straight punch combination stays the same like before, so block the punches correctly and step good towards your opponent with your knee attack. Be sure you step into the hook when you block it. Don't go away from the punch and make your knee as quickly as possible. This technique is to stop your incoming opponent with a front kick when he walks on you, catch him with the knee. Do this both sides. Your partner holds the bag backwards and let it go. On that moment I interrupt with a front kick and I follow up with a knee attack. Again, practice this both sides. Notice how I return in a basic position. And I keep my balance in the middle. It's a good exercise to train your timing and power. Try to push the back away with the push front kick, and when the back comes back again, you give the knee. Protect your face while you're making the knee. Here I do all kind of knee techniques on the back. I make punches before I'm giving the knee. By giving these punches, I'm blocking the opponent's side. Protect your face while you're kneeing. By cross your arm for your face. Now I'm kneeing from a clinching position. And start building up the speed. Be sure to minimize the distance to the back by stepping forward after your punches. After you place the knee, you step it back to a basic position. After your turn in the basic position, you attack again. Now you're grabbing the back in a clinching position and you start giving the round knees. Make sure you place the knees on the right level. It's a good training for power. After the first exercises, we are building up the speed. Notice the little steps in between. In this training, try to find out a good rhythm and balance. The trainer will tell you by counting how many times you have to do these techniques.